Hi and welcome to this tech ability video. My name is Helen Redman and today I'm meeting with Carl Beech from Beechband. Hello,
Hi there.
Carl.
Nice to be with you.
Hi, how are you today? You okay?
Yeah, I'm not too bad today, actually. Fighting fit.
Fighting fit, that's good to hear. We're here to talk about the Beechband. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how the Beechband came about, please?
Yeah, sure. So, 4 years ago, nearly, I was diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's. I'm 54, so young onset. You're forever young. Once you've got young onset, you're always young onset, and that's when you're diagnosed with Parkinson's under the age of 50. But I probably had symptoms going back about 15 years. I used to remember walking into a room and people saying, "Have you hurt your leg?" I thought, I don't think it's hurting, but it's because my leg was starting to drag slightly, and I noticed that my speech wasn't quite right. You probably think, well, it's not right anyway. That's because I'm from Essex, so the Essex accent. But actually, I was slurring a little bit, and my voice would go soft at the end of the day. That goes way back. But by clinical exam, that scan, I was diagnosed, 4 years ago, and actually just had to repeat that scan, which is quite unusual. They don't like to do them too often because of the radiation. But I had a second DAT scan, which lights up the use of dopamine in your brain, and it's the only brain scan they can use for Parkinsonian syndromes. So that's me. Previous to being diagnosed with Parkinson's and working at Beechband, I was working in human rights, international development, and the charity sector. Did a
Okay.
whole bunch of stuff. And before that, I was a banker, but I don't talk about that.
Okay.
I was a salesman in the city for a few years, but I walked away from all of that to work in deprivation projects, really. So that was for a very long period of time. But um, so 4 years ago, when I was diagnosed, I'm a typical man. I didn't go to the doctors until I was desperate,
Mhm.
and I was in a lot of trouble, um, and ended up on a lot of medication. To cut to the chase, this time last year, I was struggling to speak. So
Okay.
I was almost non-verbal. So I'd had a quite pronounced stammer and vocal freeze. And I had a freeze of gait, dragging my leg. I was incontinent, sometimes in my bladder, constipated in my bowel, and a lot of insomnia. And I developed something called cervical dystonia, where my neck would clamp to one side and I couldn't speak or feel my body when that happened. I had upper limb tremor and dystonia. So quite a collection of problems coming at me.
Mm.
And that's what led to Beechman, actually. When I got cervical dystonia, I realised I was in trouble.
Okay.
I started to fight back, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously a really challenging time and
Yeah.
um and problematic and shocking, I suppose,
Yeah.
in many ways as well. Thank you for sharing your personal story there. So you say that sort of 12 months ago, these additional symptoms appeared. And
Yeah.
when did Beechband come about then? How does Beechband link into that?
So it must probably goes back to about June 24, actually. So I've been in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where
Mm.
I took covertly entered a cobalt child mine, mining cobalt for lithium batteries in the West. There 40,000 kids doing that, and they were getting Parkinsonian syndromes because of the toxins. It
Okay.
was a very dangerous trip, and very traumatic seeing what happened to the children. I came out of that, my symptoms really flared. I mean, I went out there, I was poorly, but
Mhm.
I just thought, let's go for it, I went with one other guy. Um, and it was coming back and really having a major symptom flare up, which almost destroyed my speech completely, that led to Beechband. And basically, I'll try and do this as succinctly as possible. But with Parkinson's, you lose your autonomic system. You start to get corroded in a way. So autonomic system is your autopilot. So controls speech, walking, swallowing, blinking, all of those automatic functions. It's a weird one, Parkinson's. Because of that, you can't walk forwards, but you can walk backwards because it's not an
Wow.
automatic function. You can run
Okay.
sometimes, but not walk. It's very strange. Um, so I was experimenting with something called queuing, which you learn in Parkinson's world, which is because your autopilot's gone, you look for other guidance systems. So if you look for a line in paving slabs to aim your leg at, or if you're on carpet, that's really difficult. But if you had ceiling tiles, you could aim at a line in the ceiling tile. But I bought a stick. Not, I was balance compromised, but it wasn't for that. I used to throw the stick out with my left arm to show my right leg where to go. So go clunk, 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 clunk. But I noticed that the vibration through my hand was having as much of impact as where I aimed the stick. So I started to tap the stick by my side and realised if I kept the pace fairly high, I could walk without a limp, which I thought was really
Wow.
odd. The second thing was anxiety. So I had neurological anxiety. I'm not an anxious person by nature, but I've seen what anxiety is like. It's horrific. And I was having meltdowns outside coffee shops and stuff. And one time I saw a smiling old lady when I was about to have a panic attack. I was actually having one, and I said, "Help." I couldn't speak very well, but she said, "Help, Parkinson's." And she held my hands, gave me a squeeze, and I felt the anxiety go. So next time I got an anxiety attack, I cuddled my dog Douglas, the Cavapoo, and he licked my neck, and I felt the anxiety go. And then the next time it happened, I asked an Essex mate of mine called Nathan. I went, "Hug me." He went, "What?" I went, "Hug me." And he took me in and he said, I've got you, mate, which was a really powerful moment. And I felt the anxiety go. So I'm now thinking vibration and contact are powerful things for people with Parkinson's initially. And so this device is born out of Parkinson's, but it's not just for Parkinson's, as I come to say. And then one night I was sitting on my own. I was actually watching Apocalypse Now and eating a double decker, which are great sources for inspirational philosophical thought.
I'm not judging.
I'm stitching these thoughts together. I just come out of DRC, sitting there really ill, and I thought, well, I've been in a dangerous place. And then this thought came to me: where's the safest place? It was almost a question into my head. It was a very strange moment. Where have you been safest? And I thought immediately the answer: my mother's room. I bet I was safest there. So I looked up what a baby feels in the third trimester. Because I thought, well, why do babies not claw their way out in panic? Some things are going wrong, maybe, but why? How is everything so contained? And maybe it's the heartbeat of the mother. So I looked up what a mother's heartbeat is as a baby's been prepared to be born, which is around 80 to 95 beats a minute. So I thought, well, that's incredible, because most calming devices are around 50 beats a minute. Like a soothing teddy bear for your kid or something.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I wonder if I can trick my brain that I'm safe. I wonder if there's a memory stored that we don't consciously have, but I wonder if it's there. So with nothing to lose, I started tapping myself at about 80 beats a minute. And then I thought, well, I've got to do this long enough so it bypasses my conscious thoughts. I'm not trying to cue myself. I need this to get to my brain, my subconscious. So I was just sitting there doing this for about an hour. In fact, I was doing this because I couldn't tap.
I was going to say it's quite a long time to sustain.
Yeah, it's really difficult actually. But after about an hour, I opened my mouth to speak and spoke fluently for the first time in months.
Wow.
So I thought, really, I was crying at this point. And then I walked around my room tapping my thigh, and I didn't have foot drop. And I looked in the mirror, my face masking had gone. In Parkinson's, your face goes rigid, pulls down a bit, so you look very miserable. But I used to say, I'm not miserable. I was born in Dagenham. Is my answer. Just stop telling everyone I had Parkinson's. But that had gone almost completely. So I phoned my mate Nick, who now works as chief technology officer at Beechband, and described to him a device using a rubber band where you could take the magnet for a locker out and put a mobile phone haptic in it, connect it to a battery pack, and set it for 85 beats a minute. He sent it through the post that week. I put it on and it worked. Like I had symptom alleviation. So we took that and built 31 odd prototypes with 3D printers. Nick did on his kitchen table, And then we tried them on people who had had stroke, MS, Parkinson's, MND, MSA, PSP, Tourette's, dyslexia, all sorts. And we saw this stunning impact. I mean, we could not believe our eyes. The form of dyslexia helps where the words are moving about on the page. They just stop in most cases. So, anecdotal, this is, so I'm like, this is incredible. So I knew we were onto something. But of course, this is new. You don't really see what we're calling subconscious vibrotactile stimulation devices. We're actually now the world's biggest user of vibrotactile stimulation, so called it. And currently with probably 53,000 devices sold now around the world. And survey data on several thousand users, accurate survey data, but ethically approved around working towards clinical validation. So we decided to set up a patient-led company as a wellness product, because if you tried to set up as a medical device from the get-go, you're looking at 2 years, £1.8 million. You have to raise a lot of investment and then pass that cost on to the patient, which is why devices are so expensive. But we thought, no, we'll do this another way. So, with guidance from the MHRA, the Medical Health Regulatory Authority, told us what language we could use and how to position it, and what claims we can't or can't make. So, in advertising, we don't talk about syndromes or symptoms, but in the prohibited list of words, they don't have brain training, regulation, or nervous system recalibration. So we talk about that,
Right.
and
Okay.
which is actually what's happening. We
Yeah.
believe so far, and now with all these devices out there, we think we're pretty much onto what we believe is happening. Clinical trials will begin next year. All the building blocks are being put into place for that, and Beechband became a product. It's a really weird thing. I went from losing everything, literally.
Mhm.
I had nothing. I mean, I lost my life's work. I lost a lot, and personally too, to seeing this beautiful thing happen. That's how it came about. And it's
That's
just a very
incredible.
simple wrist-worn device, or ankle, or other places we can come onto, and an app now for Apple and Android. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's an absolutely incredible story. The fact that obviously it's come from such a personal experience and experimenting with yourself,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
and your own symptoms and the way you're feeling to be able to come up with something. I've actually been sent one as well. I've
Okay,
got one
cool.
that I've
There
been
you go.
trying out. So I was wearing it and had a little go with it. And I sort of forgot it was there. Now, my partner is dyslexic and has got undiagnosed ADHD. He's 50, so he's not going to go for a diagnosis. But every time I talk to him
Yeah.
about it, he sort of identifies that, within himself. And I asked him to wear it, and at first he said, I can't do this. I cannot have this on my arm. I really can't do this. It is so distracting. And I was reading the instruction book and I was saying, no, you've got to keep it on for a bit longer. Like, you might find it's okay. And within a couple of hours, he was buzzing about doing what he was doing. And all of a sudden he went, oh, I've just remembered this is buzzing me. And he'd actually forgotten about it.
There
He'd
you go.
forgotten about it and then suddenly remembered. So for whatever reason, his brain had just became conscious of it again, and he was genuinely shocked that he could feel it again because he'd forgotten about it
Yeah.
and was going about his business. And he did say that night, because he only tried it for a day, but he did say that night he did sleep a lot better than he usually
He
does.
will
For him
do.
to sleep is a very, very difficult thing.
Yeah.
Or for him to stay asleep, I should say, is an unusual thing
That's brilliant to
for him
hear.
to get through the night. Yeah. So he has tried it a few times since, but he's a builder, so he doesn't want to he doesn't want to wear it all the time and ruin it. He's a bit worried about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the few times he's tried it, he has noticed a difference just in sleeping. In sleeping.
That is amazing. Yeah. So I
So
designed it in
yeah.
part to trigger the parasympathetic nerve. So a lot of
Hmm.
these parasympathetic nervous devices are quite complex. But my
Hmm.
theory was that this was a route to trigger the parasympathetic, i.e., calm and comfort,
Hmm.
rather than fight or flight, which most of us are in. So loads of people talk about it as a sleeping aid. I mean, it's a non-chemical
Yeah.
sleeping aid, which is amazing. So wearing it 2 hours before you go to bed could be
Yeah.
incredible. But what we found was that 25% of people had an instant impact,
Hmm.
50% within a day, 24 hours, but the rest up to 70 days. And then about 75% of people at that point are saying it helps them
Hmm.
with multiple symptoms. But the amazing thing is that people who wear it 7+ hours a day over long term are saying 85% then of those people get symptom help.
Okay, now we're going to hear from someone talking about their experience of Beechband.
I've used the band for just over 2 months now, and it has improved my emotional regulation. I feel intensely with having ADHD, and it has improved it significantly and being able to make more of a mind and body connection. It's improved my sleep. It's improved self-regulation with ADHD as well. So like being able to focus more, not perfectly because I have ADHD still, being able to recognize when I'm hyper-focusing that bit too much, when I need to slow down a bit more. I found personally that after kind of that week 4, week 5 point, I started to find that this was just a part of my arm. You know, the brain training that I was doing alongside being able to have this as my regulator, my reminder, and my center of gravity in some ways. But I can't recommend it enough. But I also can't recommend enough each person being able to tailor this to what it means to them and how their mind and their body works.
That people sleep better, or they stop being constipated, or only the form of dyslexia where the words move. But I've had people burst into tears because saying the words are gone, and they've gone, like, what? It's
Right.
incredible. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, really
So is there
incredible.
anywhere people can sort of see this data, the survey data that you've got from
Yeah,
your
it's all
users?
published. Yeah,
Hmm.
there should be some on the website. There's on the Facebook. There's a community group on Facebook called uh, creatively Beechband community. So if you go
Okay.
to the Beechband community group, it's a private group, so people feel free to share. There's a couple of questions to answer. And if you go to articles, all our survey data is there. And in fact, on my computer at the moment is the latest one, which is written, for medics and general users. Really, very detailed breakdown of user data. It's very
Hmm.
fascinating. 3,000. I mean, it's one of the largest patient survey groups in existence, really. I think most clinical trials have 20, 30 people involved.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's a lot of data.
And what age groups have you worked with then? Obviously, you've mentioned a few different sort of conditions, whether they're medical conditions or neurological, neurodivergent. Have you got a range of ages that are using this product?
Yeah, yeah, from children through to the elderly,
Hmm.
absolutely. And people aren't just using it for conditions, also using it for high performance. Like the stressed exec who just wants to be calm, capital C, before they win the boardroom.
Hmm.
The sports person, they've got your heart's tense before a competition, because it really does settle. It seems to regulate the nervous system really well. So it's across abilities, needs, issues, syndromes. Um, my partner and my business partner and I were in America, and there was a young lad behind us who is non-verbal autistic and stimming. It was really sad to watch. The parents were beside themselves and actually came and apologised through tears. He was making a noise. I mean, like, I didn't even notice actually. Probably because I'm
Hmm.
ADHD as well. I make as much noise myself. So I'm like fidgeting about. And I said, well, why don't you just try this to the mother? And she took my beach band, gently placed it on him, and he immediately went still. Just immediately went still. So from child, I mean, it's beautiful. We hear this all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just lovely to watch, really. Of course, doesn't work on everyone. So
Yeah.
for 25% of people, officially, they're not,
Hmm.
or 26.2 or whatever it is at the moment, they won't see a result. And for that reason, because we say it really is a long-term device, 70 days on average, you get 75% seen benefit. We give a 100-day money back guarantee. So if you buy it and it doesn't work, we just give you your money back. Simple as that. And that's part of what it means to be patient led. You're not
Hmm.
profiteering, it's people before profits, which is why we keep it super low cost. I was in one meeting where this very leading neuroscientist group said, how much is it? And I went, 50. And he went, 50 is too much, should be 30. And I went, how can I produce this for £30? He went, I thought you meant 50,000.
Oh.
I went, I went, no, £50. It's now like 64 quid with two straps or whatever it is. But I mean, incredibly reasonable for what happens, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've even seen
So,
it work for. I was doing a talk with a rehab team today with stroke patients. Multiple
mhm.
times we've seen impact there. So yeah, it's humbling, and it's just, I don't know. It's been a shocking discovery, really, to the point where I am now 9 months off medication for Parkinson's, and I'm completely symptom free, and I don't wear a beach band.
Wow. You don't wear a beach band. You've not needed to.
No, I
It's
don't need to. So what happened for me was what happens now happening for thousands is that after concentrate time of wearing it, when the battery runs out, you feel like it's still on. Even if you
Right.
take it off, the effect continues. So I call that residual benefit. And that grew for me from seconds to minutes, hours, days, weeks, months. So that's why I had the second DAT scan, which showed the disease has progressed and confirmed my diagnosis, and yet I don't need medication.
Wow, that's an incredible sort of U-turn then, isn't
I know.
it?
I mean, in my neurologist letters here, the bottom line is he doesn't need to see me back for a year, but just for the record, he's on no medication now, so there's no need for him to have any further repeat prescriptions currently. I could have cried when I got that. So I was on a lot of pills.
Yeah. That's it. And then it's the impact of what those pills are doing as well, that medication and, elsewhere in your body. Yeah.
So I've got permanent at the moment, which it might go, but I've got what they call biphasic dyskinesia. So I had dyskinesia when I was peak dose of the meds, the involuntary movements you get with Parkinson's. I can't manufacture them, but my leg constantly does this. Even when I'm standing up, I call it my shaking Stevens leg. I keep wanting to break into Green Door when I'm standing in McDonald's, it's constantly oscillating, moving with the knee joint, and that's caused by the medication. So finding non-effective, non-pharmaceutical interventions, I think, is hugely important.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just conscious of the fact that, my background's working in colleges, and a lot of the people who'll be watching this video will be working in specialist colleges or also general further education colleges, where there's an increasing number of students coming through with anxieties, social anxieties, and other conditions where maybe they're not under a GP, they're not under a professional, but it's severely impacting their studies, their ability in exams, even just their sort of approach and attitude to what happens after college in terms of careers or going on to higher education, just the overwhelmingness of life. Have you got any evidence or any users that are of that age group, or could you see there might be some transferable benefits?
100%. That's why we're pleased with the app, because the device, when you look at it, it's not, it's a functional design. It's one button on, one button off. It's chunky. It's because it's got to contain that motor and battery and so on. And we want to keep the cost low, so it's not built like an Apple Watch. But we've had a lot of people who are teenagers, students, who really benefit from it. Some of them can't go to school without it, but they'd like something better. So that's why we created the app. So the app is really geared for those people who, you can get a smartwatch that works on the Android Google Play Store app, about £50, and they'll get 7-8 hour battery life, and it looks better. And we've done that because of in part that market.
Right.
There are kids who, they just don't want to stand out wearing that device. So loads. I mean, really good for exam pressure, sleeping. When this is what we're told, by hundreds and hundreds of users. So if you go into the community group and you do a search for different things like anxiety, exams, it all comes up with people who are using them. On TikTok particularly, there's a whole bunch of younger users that seem to be, shouting about it.
Right. Okay. That's brilliant. And then the app, is that a subscription service then, or is it a buy purchase once?
Try and get these numbers right. But it's about £1.99 for the first 3 months, and then it's £3.99 thereafter. Same time.
Right. Okay. And that then works with the device that they already own.
So if you've got a smartwatch, you can download that. You can do it, pay for a year, or just do the monthly subscription. If you don't like it, stop it.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
The app is formally now registered with Apple and Android and accepted, and then the ads will start for that. So if you're in the community, you'd have heard about it on our emails, but other than that, but it's still being downloaded in numbers actually, so it's proving popular.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Are there any other upcoming developments then for it, or are you looking at any other products?
Yeah, we are. So my aim is to, when we realised that when you wore it, 7+ hours a day, it was having this impact. We're aiming now to provide a device by the end of the year that's splash-proof, dust-proof, and gives you 6 to 8 hours on a charge. So that means you can put it on once and not worry about it.
So just a bit more durable. Yeah,
that's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
You don't have to work consecutive hours to get the benefit. It is a time worn, but I just encourage people, if they're thinking about it, get it, because we really are genuine about this. It's 100 days. You will get your money back. We're giving 25% of all our income to cure research, because we think, this is highly effective therapy. It may point us to some answers, so we want to invest into that. And I think finally, I would say stick with it, because sometimes people give up too quick. But if they stick with it, it's changed my life. And I know it's changed the life of hundreds of thousands of others now. So it's a persistence thing, really.
Yeah. That's good.
That's it.
That's great. Thank you. Oh, it's been lovely to meet you. Thank you very much for talking with me today. It sounds like a
Lovely to meet you,
fantastic
Helen.
product. Thank you very
so
much.
much. Bye now.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this Techability video, and we hope you enjoyed it. You can sign up to the Techability newsletter by scanning the QR code on screen or visiting bit.ly/TA mailing. You can also email us at techability@natspec.org.uk. You can go onto the Blue Sky Social at techability.bsky.social, or you can follow us on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/company/techability.